All right, we're back. Just to repeat, in case that was too staticky for you, we were talking about foundations of building health in our families and our children. And Dr. Tressler wanted to start giving tips to his the people on his Facebook Live about how we can better take care of our children. But we decided to start with the foundations of good health before we started to throw tips at you. And we're talking about sleep. We're talking about the fact that most people take sleep for granted, that we don't realize that there's a purpose for sleep. The purpose for sleep is for your body to heal. So when your children are keeping crazy hours and not getting the proper amount of sleep, their bodies literally are not healing. You know, sleep is important. A human being can die from the lack of sleep. So those who say, I only need 2 hours a night, or, you know, I can live on 4 hours, that's just inaccurate. It may go on for a time period, but you're harming your body and the effects will come later. So let's talk about what good sleep looks like for the kids. That's a time, I do want to go back and say this in case you missed it. When they go to sleep, their liver starts to work, detoxing their body, cleaning up their blood. Their cells at that time will detox. The immune system starts to repair and rebuild and re-strengthen to fight against any kind of invader that wants to come against their body. So many things happen in the evening. So what are some ways that you can help your child get better sleep? One of the first ones is to establish a good bedtime routine. And routine is always helpful with kids in most cases, but a good bedtime routine will set them in a cycle for understanding that sleep is coming. And when you see them get tired, they should begin to prepare for bed. And here's why. Because when you used to stay up too late and you would say, I got my second wind, what is that? That literally is your body's energy that it will be using through the night for your body to heal. And instead of you being asleep and having your body heal, now you got this second burst of energy that you use to clean the house or do your schoolwork when your body needed it to repair and regenerate. And a lack of sleep affects every system in their bodies. So we see GPAs that are lower from lack of sleep, the inability to control emotions, so many different things. The endocrine system is related to good sleep. So we see an imbalance in the thyroid and adrenal glands. Their concentration and their ability to focus is hindered, as well as memory is hurt by a lack of sleep. So this isn't just something that makes them tired and cranky the next day. It really does give their overall system, all systems, it impairs them. So we mentioned that your immune system repairs at night, so they can be more susceptible to colds and viruses. Their brains, their nerves, they literally reorganize and reset for the next day. So we see confusion go away. Sometimes symptoms of not being able to pay attention and concentrate, they'll disappear. But a few more things. So the routine is something you need to get them into bed at a certain time. The lights, the cell phones, the television, any type of light is going to stimulate their brain. So about 30 minutes before bed, I'm sorry, but all the games should be turned off, the televisions should be shut down, and that actually has their body signal for the melatonin to be released and their body to go into a sleep pattern. So another couple things that you can do is moving. During the day, I just want to remind you that the purpose of sleep is to build energy, which we're supposed to burn during the day. So there's no time in history that people were sitting as much as we sit today. So the kids, they sit all day at school, and then if they come home and all they do is sit, we really can't expect them to be tired in the evening. So keep the activity away from bedtime, but definitely have them moving during the day. And then the last thing would be eating before bedtime. Hunger and being too full will both do the same thing. It will make it hard to sleep. Now kids at just about any age, chamomile tea might be something that could help if they are having a hard time settling down and getting ready for bed. So now according to NCBI, which is the National Center for Biotechnology Information, here is how long the different groups are supposed to sleep. If you have pre-K and toddlers, you're looking at 12 to 16 hours of sleep. Elementary school kids are 9 to 12 hours, and teenagers are 8 to 10 hours. So let's think about that. If they catch the bus at 7 in the morning, there is no way they're getting 10 hours of sleep. The teenagers all want to stay up until 11 o'clock at night. So you do that math and you figure out what's best for your family, but I can't stress the importance of sleep enough. So repairing and healing, detoxing and growing, restoring energy, it's so important. Okay, so another foundation for kids. Another one, these all seem so simple. Water. I hear all the time, oh, my kids drink enough, my kids drink enough. They may drink the quantity that they should be drinking, but most of them are waiting until they're really thirsty and then they're chugging a bottle of water. So that does what? Goes in and comes right back out. Your body can only absorb about 8 ounces every hour. 30 minutes would be 4 ounces. So if they're chugging 12 ounces at one time, they're only absorbing very little of that. And the point of drinking is to have the water absorbed into our tissues. Our kids are chronically dehydrated, so are most adults. But water will affect every other system in their body. Their brains will work better. Everything in them, they'll have more energy. They won't become tired as quickly. So water will help them in every area. And just, I hope I don't even need to say, avoid soda. Avoid all the drinks. I'm sorry, I know Gatorade is popular, but it is not something that they should be drinking. Water is the best, and caffeine, the caffeine and sugar, it's not really good for us adults, so it absolutely isn't good for our children. So we have sleep, we have water, and the third thing that I'm going to talk about, maybe that's why Dr. Tressler didn't want to be in here tonight with me. No, I'm teasing, but it is something that should come naturally to our thought process, but it didn't for me. So I'm going to take the chance tonight and talk to you about your kids having a bowel movement every day, because it wasn't a no-brainer for me back when I was a mom of little kids. Nobody talked to me about it, and I just didn't think about it. When they were toddlers and babies, and I was in charge of helping them with that, I knew what was happening, but as they got bigger, I didn't go into the bathroom with them, and I didn't pay enough attention to it. I just didn't think about how important a bowel movement was every day. Now, you may be sitting there saying to me, wow, I can read on many sites, and maybe my medical professional tells me that having a bowel movement every 2 or 3 days is okay, and what works for one body doesn't work for another. I want to work through that. Let's just think about it. If we're putting food in, food has to come out. It's got to move out of there. A healthy colon, we should see the time period from actually eating something to eliminating it being anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. Now I know some people, it doesn't work that way. But just because it's common does not mean that it's healthy. So what happens in that whole cycle? You eat the food and it goes to your stomach, and some grinding and some things are done there, and after that it's passed to your small intestine. In the small intestine, that's where most of the nutrient absorbing happens. But after the small intestine, it gets passed to the colon. What even is your colon, right? It's a muscular tube. It's about 5 feet long and 2.5 or 3 inches around. And it's the last stage after the nutrients are absorbed from your body. to where the food and the waste goes. Now, in this holding spot, water is absorbed and minerals are absorbed. There's bacteria in there, and it is there to ferment, and it's there to fight against any bad bacteria that could overgrow in that area. So lots happening there in our children. They're absorbing water from their colon, they're absorbing minerals. If the waste is stuck there for a few days, what's happening? That's putrefaction, and that's going back into their little bodies. In our bodies as well. So we need to be thinking about this logically, not just saying, well, that's the way we are. Americans as a whole are dehydrated, have poor nutrition. They don't have enough good bacteria in their guts. They're not getting enough exercise. Just because we live that way doesn't mean that it's building health. And we see that in our children. And all of those things I just mentioned, including not having enough good gut bacteria, all lead to constipation. And as a society, our children are constipated. So how can we work on that for the kids? Well, the foundation of sleep and water will help, because getting good sleep helps to reset all of the systems in the body. Then drinking water, that will help flush things through their bodies. So those two things work along with their elimination. And you can help with the things that they eat. So there are some natural doctors that say a pear a day keeps the colonics away. So pears, apples, these are great fruits to keep digestion moving. Figs and prunes, when you need a little bit more, the figs, the prunes, and some warm water can act as a laxative. But on a daily basis, chia seeds, flax seeds, green vegetables, any fruits and vegetables, anything God put on the planet is going to be roughage for you. But as you increase that, you have to make sure that they have enough water intake, because that additional fiber can cause constipation and can cause some belly pain. So yeah, a lot of water, a lot of good and healthy food. And if you want to look at anything about your colon and the health that you should be building with your colon, you can take a good look at colonhealth.net. There's a lot of great information there. And there are many researchers and doctors that believe that health begins and ends in your colon. So it's something that we need to be paying attention to. And if we start doing that when they're 5, 6, 7, and we teach them what their bowel movement should be like, then we won't have to be worrying about that when they're 16 and 17 and they don't want to be talking with us about that. And I'm going to get even deeper and a little weirder here and a little grosser. I know that we all think it's so cute when the toddler leaves the stinkers, or when the bigger kids are doing that to gross out their moms. But that's not supposed to smell as bad as it does sometimes. When you have that kind of awful odor, we need to discuss what's going on in their gut. That's always an indication of an imbalance in good and bad bacteria. That's always an indication that something is just a little bit off. I'm not saying anybody's sick or that there's a dis-ease, but there definitely is something that needs addressed. And some simple things that you can do to work on that would be to eat fermented foods. Let's not forget, all through ancient days, they didn't have preservatives to put in their foods, so they fermented them. Their vegetables were fermented, their meat was fermented. We don't eat that way anymore. So you could add kefir and kombucha, you could add kimchi and sauerkraut, and a lot of these foods will add good beneficial bacteria to your children's bellies. Another simple way to do that is to add a good probiotic. There are probiotics at the natural food store for infants all the way up through preteens and teens. So another part to that would be an enzyme. If you are dealing with those kind of issues with stinky stinkers, you can add enzymes into their meals. And we can talk to you about that to you here in the office. All you need to do is call in and talk with one of the girls about scheduling to find out more about those things. Dr. Tressler has all of them here available. And I am going to take a little bit more time. So I'm going to address one more thing, if that's okay with you all. Can you hang in here with me for a couple minutes? Those are the foundations, some things that you can do to build health: sleep, water, making sure that they're having a bowel movement every day. Those things will build health, but let's throw in a tip for you today on just some ways that you can help your family be a little healthier, or even in this whole stay-at-home order time period. Everyone is a little leery about running to MedExpress, or you don't really want to run to the hospital if they fall and get a cut or they get a bad scrape on their knee, and that's understandable. So I thought maybe I could just throw in some information on wound care real quickly for you. Now, of course, if your child gets a bad cut or a scrape and it's excessively bleeding and you can't control that, or if they get a wound and over time it gets redder and more inflamed rather than beginning to heal, or if there's an odor or discharge from the wound, a fever, a rash, any of those things, you would want to get to your medical provider and you want to get that seen. But for those wounds and scrapes that you can handle at home, I just wanted to go over a few simple ways that you can speed up that healing. So what happens? Your child scrapes their leg outside. The first thing you want to do is wash that out with clean water and a gentle soap, like a Castile soap or something with very little fragrance in it, and then get a sterile dressing on that. Get a clean wound dressing on that. I want you to remember that we're all about what you put in your mouth here. So we know for sure that healing begins on the inside before you see it on the outside. If you give the body the nutrients that it needs, it will heal. In all circumstances, you'll see healing. So you need to pay attention on healing from the inside out. And what do we want to do as soon as one of our kids gets hurt? We want to run them to Dairy Queen and go and get them an ice cream sundae or an ice cream cone. And that's really the worst thing you can do for them. Sugar leads to inflammation. Inflammation will not help a wound heal. So you can help your child the best by, during that time, feeding them fruits and vegetables, green leafy vegetables like kale and spinach. They'll have vitamin K, and then that helps with blood clotting. Those are good. They're good for blood, stimulating the blood to stay clotted. So lean meats, grass-fed beef, and wild-caught fish, those things are great for healing. The beef and the fish too will provide protein, and that will help to repair any damaged tissue. And then on top of that, the fish, especially healthy wild-caught fish, that will give the essential fatty acids that the body needs to speed up wound healing. So start from the inside, give them really healthy food. If they're hurt, if they're injured, if they're sick, don't bring them a goodie bag. Let's start with good choices in their mouth. And then after that, how about this? You can throw some raw honey on there. That's a good tip to give you tonight. Raw honey is antimicrobial, so it will help with cleaning out anything that may have gotten into that wound, into that scrape. And it actually helps to generate healing, to facilitate healing. The honey will mix with the body's fluids and create hydrogen peroxide, and that's not a good environment for bacteria or viruses to live in. So the raw honey is a great way to help that heal. Vitamin C is another one. Vitamin C is antiviral, it's anti-inflammatory, and it helps wounds heal. It helps build collagen. That's necessary in the process of healing. So those are just a couple of ways that you can help your child. Colloidal silver is another one. If you have that in a gel or a spray, that will help facilitate the healing of a wound. So I hope these things will just stay in the back of your mind, and as you're living day to day, you'll think of these and implement them in your family. I hope that we can help you be healthier and build health rather than disease. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned next week, Tuesday and Thursday, for videos from Dr. Tressler's office. Thanks.